Yo, what is up, guys? Hope you're all doing well. Welcome to Volleys with Ollie. This is part one of a two-part series. Part one will be looking at the fundamentals and the technique of the forehand and backhand volley. And in part two, we'll be taking it a step up and looking at more advanced footwork and shadow swing drills and routines that you can do. Key here is no matter what level you are, whether you're just beginning or you're advanced, playing tournaments, whatever, make sure that you have a mastery of the concepts and the things that we're talking about here in this video before progressing to part two, because really no matter what level you are, fundamentals are really important. In fact, as you get better, I would argue fundamentals get even more important. So we want to have a really good grasp of what we're doing in this video before moving on. And the other thing I would say is, look, take your time. If you're just beginning and these concepts are new to you, take your time, don't rush. Just go through the steps that we're going to go through in this video and practice. Practice those steps as much as you need. As we progress through this part one, make sure you're nice and clean with whatever step you're on before moving on to the next step, because that's actually going to help you achieve all the goals in the next step a lot better and a lot quicker. We're going for quality over quantity here. We're going good technique over just getting through the motion. So without further ado, let's get into step one. Okay, step one, we don't need a racket. We're just going to practice the body positioning. So first thing I want to do is get my feet shoulder width apart. Get nice and low here, so kind of a foot lower than I am standing tall. I can bring my arms up here, right in front of me, my two hands, and then I'm just going to practice turning and stepping. Notice my shoulders still facing this way, and I get that nice step forward. So same thing again, I got my feet nice wide base, my back is straight, hands are out in front. I'm going to turn and then step forward. Nice big step, about 3 or 4 feet. So I'm really getting that momentum, right, carrying me towards my target. Same thing on the backhand side, so I turn and I step. Notice I'm still facing that way and my momentum going this way, all my weight on that front leg. Okay, let's go again. Backhand side, hands out, wide base. I'm going to turn and step. So you can do this as many times as you want until you get really comfortable, and this is just super easy and instinctive, right? So I'm just going to turn, step, and then back to the center. I'm going to turn, step. You can speed it up so it's a little bit more challenging. Turn and step. Back to the middle. I turn and step. Notice a little bit of drag on that trailing leg. That's normal. Turn, step. In fact, that's indicative that you're really getting that push forward. Okay, so here, turn and step, back, turn, and step. Once you're good with that, we're going to add a little bit of a split step so that when you recover back to this spot, split, turn, and step. I recover, split, turn, and step. Recover, split, turn, and step. Recover, split, turn, and step. Okay? So you can do that 20, 30 times just so you get super comfortable with it. Once you got that, you're ready for step two. All right, step two, we're going to grab our racket. We're going to talk about the grip we're going to use for our volleys. Now in step one, we looked at the body positioning and the movement, and that's going to be critical for what we start to develop here. But before we go into it, we want to make sure we're using the correct grip. Now a lot of you may already know this, but for those who don't, we're going to use the continental grip. The continental grip we're going to use for all our volleys, all our overheads, our serves, unless we're hitting a kick serve, but that'll come later. So continental grip for all our volleys. What is the continental grip. Well, continental grip is also referred to as a hammer grip. So as if I'm hammering a nail with the side of my frame. I can find it quite easily. So if I just grab the camera here and show you my hand on the frame, you can see that where my index knuckle is positioned on the handle and how my knuckles go kind of down in a diagonal. Notice they're not straight like that. They're down so that my index knuckle is there, but my pinky knuckle is a diagonal on the bottom of the frame. So that's my continental grip, and that's what I'm going to use for all my volleys. Okay, so now that we know the grip, we're going to take our same stance that we had before, shoulder width apart, nice and low, put my hands out just like I did before, but this time I've got my left hand on the throat, my right hand in my continental grip, but everything's the same. Right, I'm in the same body position that I was before, and then the same thing, I turn, and then I step. I see that again, so hands out in front, I turn, and I step. Notice the body movement is exactly the same. Right, just because I have the racket in my hand doesn't mean I'm changing things. I'm doing the same body movement and positioning that I did in step one. Now I'm just doing the same thing with the racket. My hands are out in front. Notice my arms out straight, right? My elbows aren't tucked in here. They're locked out straight in front of me, right here. I turn and I stand. Body position is still the same. Chest facing sideways. Hands out, racket head out. Same thing on the back end. I turn and I'm going to step. I turn and I step. Notice the racket head is not coming behind my body. The racket head is not finishing down here, right? There's no swing. It's a turn and a block. A turn and a push. I'm just pushing the racket head forward commensurate to that step that's also going forward. Right? As I step forward, arm goes forward with it, and I step together. Turn, step. One thing I want to think about as I'm going through my shadows here is that I'm going to step as I make contact. So picture that ball coming towards you. Turn and then step on contact. Recover. Turn, step on contact. And then you can, again, add that split step. So you add that good programming that we're always going to split for our volley. So I split when they hit, turn, step. Recover, split when they hit, turn, step. I'm going to split when they hit, turn, step. Now, when the ball comes, very unlikely that it's going to be as easy as making one step to the ball, right? The ball is going to be further away, so it may not be just one step. I may have to go split, turn, oh, step, step, then my step, then my big step, right? I go split, all the ball's over here, step, step, then my big step. The key is the fundamentals are there. Now when I'm in my continental grip, notice my hand is not limp down here. I want to make sure that I pick the racket up 90 degrees here, so my racket head is always above my hand. So even when the ball gets low, so I turn, step, I have to get down to that ball so that I can keep my racket head above my hand. I don't want to go down here and then here, right? I've just lost that structure with my wrist, right? Keep the structure. So again, my hands are out wide. I've got that wide base, right? This is the beginning phase. Then I'm going to turn. My structure is still there, and then I step. Structure, again, still there. 90 degrees, wrist cocked, elbows locked, weight on that front leg. Now that's not going to change wherever, no matter where the ball goes, right? If the ball is low, if the ball is high, that structure is not going to change. It's just going to be up there, and I step and block. Or it's going to be down here. I turn, I step and block. Down here. Structure doesn't change there. So we create the structure right at the beginning. Hands out in front. In my nice position of power here. And I'm going to turn, keeping the structure, and then step, keeping that structure. So, take a second to practice, right? Make sure you're keeping the structure as you go through your shadows. And you know you're ready for step 2. And part 2 of this video is if you're able to split, turn, step, recover, split, turn, step, keeping the structure every time, then you know you're ready. So, have fun with it. Keep that continental grip. And remember, split, turn, and step your way to victory. I'll see you in part 2.